Hey, everybody, and welcome to another fantastic episode. I say that all the time because I love doing the show. I love talking to you, my community. Welcome. It's the SuzetteSpeaks show. Tell a friend to tell a friend. We have a very interesting conversation tonight. I have an engineer, an author, a mom, an entrepreneur, a woman of many talents who has had many ups and many downs as she has pursued her career in STEAM. And if you don't know what STEAM stands for, we're going to tell you in just a second. I want to welcome everyone, whether you're watching on the YouTube side or if you're watching on Facebook. Hello, I'm Suzette Speaks. This is my YouTube channel, and I like to bring on interesting people to chat with me for a bit. And I hope you will enjoy this conversation tonight. My special guest's name is Miss Tinu. I know her as Tinu Pena. She is out of West Palm Beach, Florida. And she's going to introduce some ideas to us about what it's like being a woman in a very male dominated industry or industries. And she has kind of teamed up with several different women in putting together a written piece, a book, talking about all of their different experiences in STEAM. Now, you guys may be familiar with the term STEM. We have been using STEM for a while, but now it's STEAM. So we're going to catch you up if you're not sure what this acronym stands for. We're going to get into it. I brought her on just pre-show to say hello, and we both wearing yellow, ladies in yellow tonight. And I'm excited because I have seen her in action. She has produced her own awards. She has a nonprofit. So when I see a woman as dynamic as her, trying to educate others and maybe even inspire others, the next generation, to get into a STEAM career, I want to know what's going on and what that's about. So if you are new to the channel, if you're watching in support of her, come through. I see you, RM. How you doing? Yes, is Black women in STEM. Listen, that's what we're going to discuss. Thank you. Gracious greatness. Is it like STEM? Is it STEAM? We're going to talk. Well, there's a little overlap in the name, and we're going to talk about what that means. We have expanded the is it architecture, or I think it is. Help me out, Tinu. I hope I got the A in STEAM right. But science, technology, engineering, architecture, I think it is, and math. Oh Lord, I should really have looked that up. But that's what I thought STEAM stood for too. She gonna clarify it for us. Visit her website, guys. She has Banwo Foundation, but she's also, like I said, introducing a brand new book that I'm really excited to help her kind of bring awareness to. We're going to talk to her about her career, her struggles. Oftentimes, when you see women who are as dynamic as her, we think, oh, they got it going on. There's no ups, there's no down. And I think the resilience piece is one of the most important pieces of her story. You're going to get kind of knocked down. You're going to face obstacles. It's just a part of life. And sometimes we like to seem that people have arrived as one straight line, and it's never that way, y'all. Oftentimes they have been challenged, they have been told no, they have been knocked down, and we're going to talk about it. I don't want to give away too much. Let me bring her up. Say hello, drop your location in the chat if you're watching. Again, big up everybody watching on Facebook. If you're watching on YouTube, let me know that you're here, and please hit the like button, you guys. Again, tonight's topic and tonight's special guest, as I bring her up, is none other than Miss Tinu Pena, author, engineer, really woman of many talents. And I'm going to let her tell us about herself now. So welcome for, I think, the first time here on YouTube. Welcome, Tinu. How are you?
I am good. How are you? Thank you for having me. I
Thank you. I'm
appreciate it a
pleased
lot.
as punch that you're here. I'm excited to hear about what you're doing. And I know, in full disclosure, we know each other in real life way, way back when. Do you remember the interview I did with you downtown West Palm Beach out in the park? She was rocking with me, y'all, when I was first doing Facebook Lives and trying to figure out this YouTube game. So I'm such, it's almost like full circle to see the way we both evolved since kind of me starting out. But let's start with you. Welcome, and tell the people a little bit about yourself.
Well, thank you again, Suzette, for having me on your show. I appreciate being here. Like she said, my name is Tinu, and I am an engineer. I'm an author. I'm a mom. I am what I want to call your modern day Renaissance woman. I dabble into a lot of things, but most importantly, I I love giving back to the community, be it through events or just sharing in knowledge. So that's me in a nutshell. So I hope throughout the interview you get to know a little bit more about me as we delve into the topics.
All righty, so let me let you just jump right in. I want to talk about again National Engineering Week. If you didn't know there was such a thing, we have National Engineering Week this week, February 19th through
Through the
25th.
25th.
I think it's
Yes.
really appropriate that we are. I'm sorry, I'm struggle streaming. I see myself kind of glitching, y'all. Please bear with me. Internet, I tried to bring my bill down, but I know they're trying me with sometimes you try to save, but you don't really save. But I want to appreciate everyone watching. I want to thank Tinu for being here. Let's celebrate with her. This is February 19th through 25th, National Engineering Week. So I wanted to first and foremost point that out. But what made you want to first become an engineer, Tinu?
I think for me, unlike many of my friends that I know, it was more of a chanced opportunity than intentional. I actually had wanted to be an architect. At the time that I decided to go into engineering, I actually dabbled into computer science as well and got degrees in those, and then decided that, you know what, I think civil engineering will be more in line with what I want to do as an individual, because I truly love building, problem solving, engaging with people. So civil engineering gave me that opportunity to do so. And so that's how I kind of delve into it.
Lovely. I want to ask you about so you from you were a kid, you thought architecture, you said?
Yes,
And I
architecture.
think, were you intimidated by the type of work? First of all, tell us about your background. What kind of family are you
Um,
from? Are you an immigrant? I want people to get to know you because I kind of know you. I don't want to assume that the people watching will know a little bit more of you personally, if you
sure.
will. But tell us about your individual personal story.
Sure, sure. So I'm actually originally from Washington, D.C., born of immigrant parents, Nigerians. And I lived in D.C. with my family for years. And when my dad finished school, I think it was in the 70s that he finished school here, him and my mom, they went back to Nigeria. And so the whole family went back. And in us going back, we had to go to school there. And so you're going from a different environment. You're going from an environment that has a different type of school setting to a school setting that you're not so used to, and then having to deal with the language barrier as well, and then being in a space that everybody looks like you but you're not really like them, was something that we had to kind of transition through, myself and my siblings. So I, eventually was able to transition over a few years there. But one of the things that I really enjoyed about being in that environment is that it helped me develop a sense of self-respect, a sense of community, and a sense of giving back. And actually a sense of entrepreneurship, because I don't know if anyone knows too much about Nigeria. The government really doesn't have a lot of social programs that help get you off your feet, support businesses. Now you're seeing more of that because of the globalization of the economy. But back when I was there in the early 90s, none of that existed. So you actually had to figure out. So early on, I was one of those people that wanted to get a job because I loved American TV shows. So I knew like high schoolers would get a job, and my parents weren't really for it, but I went for it and I got my job. My first job, I was a receptionist in a barber shop. And I actually was on TV in Nigeria as well. I
No
did
way.
literature shows. And so I dabbled into a lot of stuff in high school. So I really had a very unique experience growing up there. So when I decided to come back to the United States to go and pursue my degree, my university education, I was grounded, but I was entering into a space that I really didn't know the culture here. I just knew I was American, and I just knew that I wanted to go to school. So, you know, you're lifted out of one, environment and taken into another, having to reshape who you are and become part of that environment. Now you're thrust back into a different culture, and then having to go through a little bit of unlearning of what you learned over there to be able to survive in America. So it was just a little bit of a cyclic type of journey for me ever since. I have to say, ever since I was born, I've had to go through different changes just to make sure that I'm able to progress. So that's kind of been my story thus far. I'm able to morph as I go
I
along.
love it. No, it's very good to kind of hear your background, because a lot of people are going to say, well, she must be real smart, or how did she make it to this point? And we want people to be inspired that they too can achieve great things. Shout out to JT Coin Rings on the super chat, allowing us to be blessed with the comment. STEM is where it's at. Let's go. Miss AKA Lady, I know you've been waiting for the show. I've been telling them, I have a wonderful person coming who is a lady in STEAM, and she's going to talk about her journey. And she and her daughter are watching us tonight. I'm so excited. She was saying that she was going to watch it together. So welcome, ladies. Glad you're here. Thank you for bringing her along in tonight's conversation. That's what it's about. We have a question for you in the chat. They want to know, or if you don't mind sharing, what college you attended.
So I attended a lot of colleges. When I say my life was cyclic, I wasn't joking. It was up and down. So when I first came back to the United States, I went to the University of Toledo, and in that school I was enrolled in liberal arts, pursuing a degree in architecture. I then moved to Arizona, attended Cochise College, stayed in the same program. However, by my third semester in Cochise College, I decided to leave school due to personal reasons and join the military. So I was in the military for about 5 years. And while I was in the military, I enrolled in school. And because they didn't have any architectural programs on campus or in the barracks, I had to then study computer science. So by the time I left the military with a computer science degree. Then when I got out of the military, I moved to Florida, and I started to go to Palm Beach State College, where I went back and enrolled in architecture. And then I got the degree there, a 2-year degree there. And when I decided to go on to the 4-year university, which was University of Florida, not University of Florida, excuse me, Florida Atlantic University, I was then a mother of two. So I had to make a decision whether to continue with architecture or computer science. And because of, daycare and everything else, and, going through life changes, I then decided to continue a computer science degree. And eventually I switched majors and ended up in civil engineering at Florida Atlantic University. So I stayed there and graduated there.
Wow, what a journey. I said to myself,
I know.
And when I said it wasn't a straight line, y'all, I didn't even know that it was so many twists and turns. But that is an amazing kind of testament to what people who really want something sometimes have to go through different iterations, different twists and turns, several schools to get that degree or to find the major or the classes that are offered that you really want. JT Coin Rings says, my sis graduated with a doctorate degree in engineering from Morgan State. Let's go, HBCU doctorate in engineering. That's not too shabby. Okay, do it, sis. Congratulations to her, because no matter what, when I look at the numbers, Tinu, I realize, there's just not many women or many Black folks in STEM or STEAM. Okay, so let's talk about what's the difference between STEM and STEAM.
So recently they added the A because they wanted to capture the architecture and the arts elements of the sciences. So if you're enrolled in architectural engineering or architecture or any degree that's affiliated with some type of sciences that is under the arts, then you're included in that STEM or STEAM group. So that's basically what it is.
So it's not that many differences, only adding the A, which is architecture.
Correct.
So
Correct.
We are looking at careers, guys, that are science-based, that are typically male-dominated, and that we're seeing numbers. And I thank you, Tinu, for sending me some of the statistics about how diverse, or lack of diversity, I should say, or not diverse, the STEM industries are. So, according to the National Science Foundation report, there has been an increase in the number of women with a BS in STEM or STEAM from 2011 to 2020. That's awesome. Black Americans showed a slight increase from 4.5% to 4.6%. Again, out of 100, 4.5 and 4.6. And we're like, okay, we'll take it.
Yeah.
But it's not a lot of African Americans or Black diaspora, as well as women as kind of in these industries. So Black women account for 12,708 jobs compared to other women. What can we do to really increase the number, you think, of Black women and girls that are interested in STEM or STEAM careers?
I think exposure is very critical. And I detail it in my book and how I was actually inspired by a teacher who took interest in me because I was good at math. I didn't know I was good at math. I just, was doing my homework, and I was empowered to be able to help other students, and that in turn helped me. So when we're in spaces that we can empower, give access to young girls, make young girls know that being smart is okay, because I think around the time young girls get to middle school, their mindset shifts, because now puberty is hitting. They want to be cute, they want to attract the boys, and then they think that being smart is not attractive. And I want us to start debunking that notion that being smart is not attractive. Is actually a great attribute to have, to be able to be a viable partner for anyone. So I think if we start to showcase, show to young girls that being smart is okay, provide them opportunity to be engaged in it, so their interests are piqued, maybe through competition, through extracurricular activities, even extra lessons, so that they can stay interested. I think that'd be a great way to start keeping our young girls engaged.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah,
I
I love
see a
it.
comment here by Miss AKA Lady says, I love that the schools are more STEM oriented. Yeah, you actually have magnet schools and programs, thank goodness, that are finally catching up with what we need, which is making sure the young people get the opportunities early to get the exposure that you're talking about in math and sciences. I remember being a part of, do you remember a program called SECME? Did you have SECME where you were?
Yes.
I
So
remember
we didn't have SECME, we had JETS.
Jets. Okay, a version of that.
Okay.
This was I think it was like a science program for, I want to say accelerated Black students, where we were building bridges. We were building like, I don't know, racing mouse traps or things like this. I can't remember. I remember it was like an egg drop competition, and you had to drop an egg, build something that can hold an egg that could be dropped off of the roof, and it would go higher and higher. They bring these like ladders and drop it, and you'd win prizes if your invention lasted, if it was the fastest or it threw something the furthest. And I think there was another one that we had to build a bridge, which was like wooden balsa wood, like light wood.
So,
It had to
yes.
have a certain amount of weight. It couldn't be this type of, design, and you had like parameters. And I remember it was me and two of my homegirls. We was like, yo, what we doing? We need to figure out how to build this. I don't know if we were really, maybe we were more scientifically inclined than what I thought. I was just like, I can't lose. I'm gonna need to come up with ideas. And it was fun. And we were like in my little back room at the house at the time, like my little homework room, and we would like figure it out, and we would put something together and enter it. So it was something that really encouraged us to be smart, and it was actually boys and girls, all of us, African American and part of the Black diaspora, and it was interesting and it was fun, and we encouraged one another. It was one of the most memorable. As I was getting ready for the conversation, I was thinking back to like, did I enjoy sciences? And I was like, yeah. I really, really was pushed into sciences. What's up? Wonderful 34 in the building. Good to see you. We want you to visit, first and foremost, Tinu has a foundation. We're going to get to it. Thank you, RM. Great to have you. She goes by, you're using your middle name now, Tinu Akinyinka-Peña?
Akinyinka is my maiden name, so
Okay.
I'm representing.
Okay, got to represent for the Nigeria. Okay, let's go. Niger in the building. Okay, but I see you as Tinu Pena, so you can look her up for her book as well. I just want to make sure people can find you. So we're talking about STEAM, Black women in STEAM, and trying to advance this kind of cause. This is the percentage you sent me. Thank you. I just found it. In the field now, 2% of all the STEM workforce is Black women. So I think about that 2%, and I'm like, oh my goodness, we have a long way to go, because typically these jobs pay good money. Like, people make good money
Yeah.
working in STEAM. And I think we got to really, I tell kids all the time when I speak at high schools, look at the engineering school, look at the, architecture school, look at building construction. I always say dentistry too. I put dentistry in there, but I'm like, you got to look at these things, guys. It is, we're so used to doctor, lawyer, a pharmacist, maybe
Mhm.
accountant, maybe, but we got to be broader and give kids ideas of what else they can
Yes.
do for careers, especially if they enjoy math and science. So tell me about, like, your friends in this STEAM world. When you were in college, were you the nerdy group? Was it like a, don't take offense, but the Steve Urkel, I guess, pocket protecting, nerdish, stereotype. A lot of time engineers get stereotyped like that. I don't believe that, but a lot of
Act-
times, they're gonna be like, engineer, he ain't cool. Yes, he is, y'all. So, and yes, she is. So, what was it
so
like? Were you
so
like a nerd?
I wouldn't really say
A
I was a
blurred?
nerd. I was very sociable.
Yes.
Um,
Oh, sorry,
um,
sorry. I meant
um,
to
s-
put this you solo. Go
oh,
ahead.
that's okay. Like I was saying, I won't call myself a nerd, but I kind of am a nerd. Um, but when you look at the girls or the people in my group, mainly the females, I would say were more outgoing than the men. So even one of my classmates was a cheerleader. So,
Oh,
so
nice.
I think the notion that engineers look nerdy is a misconception. Maybe back in the day, but you will see women now are putting time into the way they look, and being more feminine. Even when I have to go to the field, I'm not always in jeans all the time. So when I have to go to the field, I just make sure I'm prepared. So it's all about being prepared and knowing what to, have on when you're on a job site or whatnot. So no, we're not all nerds. It's a misconception. And we don't have pocket protectors anymore. We do everything on the computer.
Hello, somebody catch up. Okay, because people again have such, these images in our cultural zeitgeist stay with us as to what people look like. And people always say, you don't look like an attorney. I'm like, what does an attorney look like? But then, you have these stereotypes that kind of stick with
Hmm.
the profession that people are very, married to. They don't want they don't want to seem like, okay, this skin, this gender, this look, coolness, if you will, can go with what this industry, offers. So you don't have to be, one size fits all. And it's important that young ladies and
Definitely.
young men understand that. So when you decided to go into college, tell me about your colleges. Tell me about your kind of course regimen. If someone is looking to get into STEAM, I want to say STEM and STEAM career, tell me about the type of courses they're going to have to prepare for, or what they could be taking in high school, or what do you remember most about your college experience? What courses do you remember, so that they can kind of mentally map out, what is it going to take for me to actually get into one of these careers?
Okay. Sure. I would say if a young lady or a young guy they already know they want to go into engineering and they know which field they want to go into or what program, nowadays everything's online. Google the school or Google the information and see what type of classes that you can take at your junior college, because that's going to save not just your parents money, but it's just going to save you a lot of headache. Because when you get to university, your general electives are in like an auditorium. So, and you don't have that personalized type of, um, um, personalized type of effect in the classroom. So I would suggest taking as many general electives that you can take at the junior college, but make sure that you're communicating with the university so that those college credits transfer over. Because
Absolutely.
there's one thing for the classes to have similar names, but if the description doesn't match, you're not going to get the college credit for it. So it's always important to talk to your advisor to make sure you're taking the correct classes. For
Absolutely.
me, and I think in engineering in general, we have to take a lot of mathematics. And so I took about, I don't even have the count, but I know I took analytical I took calculus 1, 2, 3. I took engineering mathematics. I took differential equation. I took, what was this thing? Trigonometry, calculus with algebra. It was just a slew of it. By the
Hold
time I
on,
was
sis. Hold
done
on,
with
sis.
math,
Let me think about those because I don't remember. I only took Calc 1, business calc at that, not even general. And I remember, did I? No, I remember a lot of people failed differential equation, differential equations. It goes by
it's hard.
DFQ. A lot of people, that's a weed out class. If you don't get serious in DFQ, you're not going to make it through. But you can go get tutoring. You can go to study hall. You
Yeah.
can go to your teaching assistant or your TA, which helps the college professor. And they have office hours. And then you can sit with the professor as well for office hours to get help with what you don't understand and to make sure you understand, the problems and that you are not by yourself sitting in your dorm room wondering, I don't get it. I don't get it. So these are some really intense classes, it sounds like. If you're taking count 1, 2, and 3, as well as differential equations, as well as trig. I took trig in high school, trigonometry. I don't remember taking business classes. We didn't need to take trig, but
No,
keep
you,
going. I wanted to slow you down. I see you in the chat, Damon. How are you? He said, I'm 23 years. Whoa, into my engineering career. I have a BSEE. Okay, sir. That's
oh, he's
wonderful.
electrical.
Electrical engineer. That's fantastic. So there is more than these, run of the mill, and I won't say run of the mill, respect to all the careers, our teachers, our, bus drivers, people that we know about. But I feel like a lot of students and a lot of young people within the African American community don't really get to hear as much, even though there's a trend. You're hearing a lot of STEM and STEAM and people trying to push for more classes, more awareness earlier so that students can start to say, hey, I really do like math and I really do like sciences. But keep going. So you had all these classes. Any more that and I think what you were saying, and I wanted to just emphasize that, making sure things are transferable, because just because a college or a junior college or community college offers a class, or especially make sure it's accredited if it's a private school, because oftentimes private colleges don't accept classes or vice versa. So just make sure where you're trying to go after you do your 2-year degree, which is called an associate's, your 2-year degree going into your 4-year degree. Sorry for my struggle stream. I see myself. Sorry for my struggle streaming, but just make sure they transfer. Hi, little
Transfer.
Ernest. Question for you, Tinu, says, what's the base salary for a college graduate with an engineering degree?
So I graduated in 2005. Coming out of college, it was around 57,000. Is comparable. And I'm going to tell you, you're not going to be a millionaire going into engineering, but you're going to be comfortable. And it's all about negotiating for your salary. Even though the base salary coming out when I graduated was 57, I was able to negotiate it for a little bit higher. So knowing the market and just knowing what the industry rate is, what the minimum is, the mid range and the highest range will help you better, negotiate what's best for your situation. And so don't stick with the industry base salary. Just you can use that as a guide to what you're looking for.
Fantastic. Great advice. Another question here in the chat. Please send your questions in. Thank you. Miss AKA Lady has a question. Great question, little
Sure.
Ernest. Thank you. So what hacks did you learn in college to help you stay prepared and organized for all these classes you just named? Again, don't let it intimidate you, because you got to be prepared. I tell people all the time, the schedule that you take in high school determines how ready you are for college. So if you're only taking easy classes, non-honors, no AP or IB or any other advanced placement type or advanced class, you were missing out on the preparation for college, because that when you get, calculus for the first time in college, it's going to smack you in the face. So you're going to have to do some catch up, what they call remediation, to go back, to go forward. So that happened to a friend of mine's daughter. Oh my gosh, went to school, hadn't taken anything but I think algebra 1 in college, in high school, and wanted to be a doctor. Nothing wrong with that.
Oh.
But when she first sat in
Yeah.
the calculus class, the trig class, She was shocked because she hadn't taken trig in high school. I took trig, I took algebra, I took all these other classes as well. So you have to prepare yourself. But to answer our question, how would you respond to Miss AKA Lady? So what hacks did you learn in college to help you stay prepared and organized?
One of the things I would say I learned was one, to know who's the brightest person in your class. Not so that you can just, study with them, but build that relationship. And that's your first point of knowing how to build your network. So when you build your relationship with your classmates, then when they're having study sessions, everybody is working on different problems, and whoever knows it the best then explains it to the group. So that really helps you in the long run. One of the things that I also did for myself, because not only was I a student, I was also working, and I had to manage two young children as well with my schedule. So I had to make sure that when I'm taking my hard classes, I had to make sure that I wasn't taking them, in the same semester. So I will balance out my easy classes with my hard classes to make sure that I have enough time to study for those hard classes so that I can be successful. And I can tell you, I did fail a couple of classes that I had to retake. For our program, a D is not passing. You have to get a minimum of C. At least at FAU, you have to get a minimum of C. And so statics and I think Calc 1, yeah, tripped me. So I had to take those over again.
Listen, the calc one was no joke. I think I fought for a B plus in that, and I missed it, but I was so mad. I was like, I should have got an A in that class. But I was so intimidated by calc one. We had a study lab where I went to school. I was in a math lab every day. Me and the people in the math lab was filling out problems every day. Practice, practice, practice. And like she said, even if you mess up, there are classes you may have to retake. Now, again, it might affect your GPA if you didn't drop the class. If you take the letter grade and it's not a C or higher, it can affect your GPA. So you want to make sure you get into the habit of speaking to a college counselor while you're there, wherever you're enrolled, so that keeps you on track and advises you. Like the college advisor will help you select the classes, balancing, as you said, harder classes with one or two easier classes, so you're not stressed out. So you want to make sure your schedule is balanced and you're not taking a bunch of science and a bunch of math only. You might want to mix it in
Yeah.
with an elective so that you have a break, your brain gets a break, and you have enough time to study for the harder classes as well. Great question, Miss AKA Lady. Thank you so much. We're here with Tinu Pena. Hey, Patrice, nice to see you, the PR networker in the building. She is a fantastic engineer. So let's shift from the college and preparation to like your actual career. And she's talking about STEAM and being a Black woman in the STEAM, which I say, industries. So when you started out, were you the only Black person, only Black woman at your first job? What kind of engineer are you, by the way, again?
I'm a civil engineer.
Civil engineer. So what was it like when you took the plunge and you stepped out there and got your first job? What was it like for you?
I was definitely the only girl at the time. I actually interned for 2 years with the company I ended up with.
Mm.
So I was the only girl, and I was the only Black female in the office. So I had to learn quickly how to navigate the terrain. But being that I was very young back then, I was very quiet. So I just did what I was told and left, when my time was up, and then, went to school or home or whatever my schedule required of me. It was a little bit intimidating. It was uncomfortable because, again, you're in spaces where you're the only one, and sometimes your mannerism might not be what they're used to, and they might deem it problematic. So you have to kind of navigate that space to make sure that you're comfortable the best you can be, and also that you don't put yourself in a situation where somebody can retaliate against you. So it was very tricky.
I can imagine people, office dramas never, it doesn't matter what career you have or which industry you're in.
Yes.
So I'm sure it gets complicated when people are not used to a woman, people not used to a Black woman. And
Mhm.
again, not that we're monolithic or that we all have the same ideas, personality, just temperaments. People are individuals, but again, people who we work with sometimes bring their experiences, sometimes even assumptions and biases with them about who you are and what you're capable of. So when you enter your first job or your first couple jobs, did you have to find a mentor? Were you accepted by management? I mean, accepted in terms of course, they hired you, but were you able to make inroads sometimes in terms of the relationship aspects when you need to have, viable, what should I say, working relationships on the job so that people look out for you, promote you, that kind of informal influence that is so critical, not only doing good work, but making sure you had the network at work, if that makes sense, where people look
Yeah.
out and didn't kind of throw you under the bus and kind of stuff like that. Was that easy to create as you started out in your career?
For me, I would say no. It wasn't because, again, the reason why I do most of the stuff that I do in the community is because I realize that access and information is key to personal and professional growth. And had I know what the meaning of a mentor was, not by the dictionary definition, but in general terms, when you're in a work setting, what that meant and what a sponsor meant, I probably would have navigated more strategically than I did just going in as a novice and just doing what I needed to do to survive. I had to learn along the way how to create those relationships to be able to attract, a sponsor, or a mentor. So I would say in the beginning, no, I didn't really have too much of that. But what I was blessed with was my supervisor was a very nurturing man, and he was the one that made me feel comfortable in understanding things that I hadn't even learned in school, but I was doing on the job as an intern. And I had another younger or a little bit older colleague than I was, but younger than my supervisor, who also took interest and showed me the ropes. So I was able to build relationships with those two when our office was small. But when we became a medium-sized company, that dynamics really changed. And then more women were brought into the office, but I was still the only Black women. And so it just created a different type
Yeah,
of
girl, I can feel
workplace with
you.
more women in there. So
Doing your job is half
um
the battle. So what I'm talking about again is these informal kind of workplace relationships when it comes to the
correct.
politics of the office. So I think a lot of times, and I don't want to stereotype because I have a very astute audience who watches my show. So a lot of us who watching probably now really understand, and team replay, welcome and hit the like button. But a lot of people understand what I'm talking about when it's not just you doing your job. That's why work can get tiring mentally, so
Mhm.
speaking, not because you're doing your job, but because you understand the dynamics of how people work with people, how you scratch my back, I scratch yours, how I look out for you
Correct.
and cover you, and you cover my mistake or my, give an idea, take an idea, not take my ideas. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, but again, working hard, and when you make your boss look good, usually it's repaid. But you
Correct.
cannot go through any office, and that's I relate to you totally because of the law firm culture, and law offices are very conservative, mostly men, mostly white men, and but you still have to make friends, air quotes, work friends or working relationship friends so that you can get ahead in these offices. And oftentimes I see some Black folks are very I guess there's some of them are just not aware that you have to do that. You go to work, as you talked about, and go home. I did my
Yeah.
job. I'm good. Don't talk to me. I'm going home. You miss out on a lot more benefits than if you kind of
Yes.
network and create relationship. Now, don't put them all in your business. Now, not. I don't talk about tell them all your business through and through. But hopping in the car when they're going to lunch. Hey guys, can I come? Making sure you're aware of the meeting after the meeting or the meeting before the meeting. Do you get what I'm saying?
Correct.
Sometimes when they call the group
Yes.
meeting, there's been pre-meetings, guys. And if you're not in kind of communication with your boss or working relationship with your coworkers, you miss some of the insider knowledge, the inside baseball that's happening around
Mhm.
you, which leads to what you're talking about, promotion or sponsorship. Describe what a sponsor is, because even a friend of mine just had a sponsor create an opportunity for her that's going to change her life. So when we say mentor, tell us the difference between a
Mhm.
mentor and a sponsor.
So a sponsor is someone that when they're at the table and they're talking about opportunities, you come to mind and they present you as an option. A mentor is there to kind of guide you as far as your professional career is concerned. They don't necessarily have to be the one, talking about you in a meeting or presenting your talent so that you can, move up. But, sometimes you find a mentor that does both, but a sponsor is a very strong critical support for professionals that if you don't have one, it's highly
We don't get
suggested and
ahead if we don't have
recommended
a
to have
sponsor.
one.
Absolutely. And
Yes.
I'll add on to what you
And
just said. The sponsor can
yeah,
create opportunity for you, meaning they have the power to say, hire that person, promote that person. Sometimes mentors, even though they'll help us understand what's going on with the office dynamics, they may not have the power to put you in another position or give you a bigger, case or a bigger opportunity to work on. Sponsors have the authority to pull the plug, pull the plug or give the opportunity to whoever they want. You got to figure out
correct.
in your office who the sponsors are, and you got to create relationships with those people. Have lunch with them once a month. Ask them for feedback on your work. Say, do you need help with anything? I love some extra experience in this kind of area. I'd like to prove that I know or want to learn more. You have to make yourself available. Go ahead, Tanu. I think I
Yes.
cut you off. Go ahead.
And it's all about social capital. That's what I call it. When you're putting money, or it's not real money, but you're putting capital into someone's bank. And I learned this along the way, that it's important to build authentic relationships, not more relationships that just take. Like you said, ask what can you do for them, and ask what opportunities are out there, or can I shadow you doing something you might be interested in. You might want to shadow them. Don't tell your boss you want to shadow them, because that's not
No,
always a good idea.
no, the boss gets
But
scared you trying to take their job, not the boss, not your direct
correct,
report,
correct.
but somebody else.
But I
Don't
think
get in
it's
trouble talking
important
about you
that
want to shadow your boss. That boss gonna put you. People are very protective and territorial.
you got to
So
go. Yes,
I love
yes.
it. So some great advice. Go ahead. Mhm.
Yeah, so I think in our community, one of the things we don't do very well is with other groups is to build that social capital and invest our time in learning about them. Not that you have to know the birthdays of all their kids or their spouses, but learning about them enough that they would want to learn about you. And so you're building that relationship. And now, if you want to take that work relationship to a different level, then that's a choice that you will have to make. But put in, capital into somebody's bucket for later is always good and is always going to help you in the long run. Again, you have to be cognizant of what you can share with that individual so you're not putting yourself in jeopardy. So
Yeah.
everything has to be strategic, but also authentic.
100%. I agree with her. She's giving gems tonight. If you liking the information, hit the like button. We have a few questions here. Throw your questions in the
Sure.
chat. Lil Ernest says, did her university FAU help her with job search, or did she have to do this all on her own?
Actually, my university didn't really help me with my job search, but my professional student chapter organization was instrumental in me getting my internship, which then led to my first job. So that's another thing. Some of us go to school and we just want to be bookworms and get out of there and not participate in professional student chapters like NSBE, which is National Society of Black Engineers, American Society of Civil Engineers. We have organizations for women, Society of Women Engineers. There are various organizations that ties to your profession that I would recommend that young people be a part of, because one, it helps you build leadership skills. And one thing about engineers is that we're not natural public speakers. So by participating in those leadership roles, you have the opportunity then to be at the table with presidents of companies when you go to conferences, because they actually allow presidents from the student chapters to be at the table. So that's another way for you to promote yourself by taking those leadership roles. Don't think of it as extra work, but think of it as something fun that would enhance your opportunities once you leave school. And then last but not least, encourage people to put you in for awards. We
Yeah.
don't do that. It be it professionally or in school. We don't nominate ourselves to, or we don't find someone to nominate us. We just expect someone to nominate us. But at the end of the day, unless you put yourself out there, people won't know, because nobody really knows exactly the breadth of what you do. So you have to be the one self-promoting, and not in a bombastic way, but in a way that, draws people to you, that they say, you know what, yes, this award would definitely be something worthwhile for you to be nominated for. So that's one of the things that I, suggest.
That's fantastic. Other questions? I see a few. A comment here by Damon says, during my time as an engineer, I've seen a large increase in white women engineers. Really? Rarely do I
Correct.
see black, male, or female. Wow.
He's,
Interesting.
that
Thank
is
you.
correct.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, again, that's where not talking about, engineering as a viable option. I used to, when the earlier period of my career, I used to go to middle schools and talk about STEAM and how to get involved, and we would do these little games just to get girls inspired. But then you look at the demographic of the people in the school, and they're not, predominantly black, or majority is not people that look like me. So back in the day, I made it a point to go to those schools to talk about STEM. But if kids don't have access to that information on a regular basis, it's not going to be in their forethought for them to be able to want to take that route. So this is where it's all of our jobs, to be it on, Snapchat, TikTok, whatever, talk about STEAM. Say you're in the field or you were in the field, but we have to push the narrative for our people to be able to go into that space.
I totally agree with you. Thank you for that observation, Damon. I think, especially, I speak at schools too. When I tell people, listen, you or your husband need to be in the engineering school, one of the two, let's go and make sure you're thinking about this. Because again, if it's not in our mind and we don't see those role models, people don't really even think of this as a major until after. So they graduate or something like this. Miss AKA Lady
And if I
has,
may say,
go ahead.
that's the reason why I collaborated in writing Engineher, which is a compilation of 4 different books about 4 Black women who took their journey into a space where they knew, they were going to be uncomfortable, but they did it anyways. And in the book, each author gave advice as to 2 young ladies, 2 women who might decide to a career change and want to go into engineering, what to expect based on their experience. But you can see throughout the book that there's commonality about what we experience, and where we deviate, it wasn't so much. So the book kind of gives insight as to what to expect, and just about the life journey of these women that decided, okay, I'm going to be a civil engineer, I'm going to be an aerospace engineer, I'm going to be an environmental engineer, and I'm going to be a mechanical engineer. So those stories are important for us to tell, because when we don't have people in our lives that are in fields that we would like to be in, by telling our stories, even by just sharing tidbits with people, will help it resonate and inspire. Because when Hidden Figures came out, I was blown away. Not because, it was story that should have been told years ago, but it was a story of women that were smart and that, stood in their own glory to do what they knew what was best for them in that time. So we have to keep telling our stories. We can't shy away, because we owe that to, the next generation coming to go into those spaces.
Absolutely. See, so a few more comments, you guys. If you have any questions, now is the time. I saw a good one by Miss AKA Lady. She commented in what you just recently said. Said you have to find a group that helps support your goals. That is definitely solid advice. So, National Society of Black Engineers. I have cousins who are in their 50s who are still a member of NSB, and then I have folks who were just graduated. One of my little cousins from UCF was a NSB, and because my big cousin and my little cousin were both NSB members, he had the hookup with, where to find jobs, where to go to the conference, who to talk to at the conference, all those type of things.
Correct.
So an affinity group for whatever your major is, you have to get involved. As you say, a chapter locally is the best thing you could do, not just class, but the networking, as you call it, the social capital also helps when it comes to finding jobs and to excel into your career. Miss AKA Lady asked, how do you stand your ground in the workplace without being misunderstood? So again, speaking up and sometimes asking for what you want as a woman can be seen as aggressive, especially coming out of a black body, a melanated body. It can be seen as difficult. It can be seen as not being feminine. And the guy in your team or the guy in your office can do the same, ask the same question, and it won't be met with the same type of resistance. So I
Sure.
find it difficult. Sometimes I go extra in the opposite way, especially if I'm dealing with judges as an attorney, to ask for what I want, but I do it with the most southern spice, love, easy breezy. I'm trying you, but you love me for trying you. You laugh at it. I have become an artist at how to push the topic without hurting an ego, right?
Uh-huh.
So how do you in the engineering space, stand your ground, ask for those raises? Some people in a law firm, if you don't ask for tough cases or if you don't ask for enough billable hours, you don't get the raise, you don't get promoted. There's no way to prove yourself. And I've had friends having
Mm-hmm.
to leave firms because they never got the
Correct.
chance to prove themselves. All of a sudden, this person's billing 10,000 hours, example, and you only billing 3,000, and you keep asking management for the opportunity and they're not giving it to you. You already know what time it is. So how do you speak up for yourself without being misunderstood as being difficult or pushy or aggressive?
So, in the engineering space, and I'm going to talk about civil engineering specifically, and I'm going to talk about civil engineering from the perspective of managing construction projects as well as doing design. So, I had the opportunity to work in both space as a designer and then as someone who managed, capital projects. So, in the space where you're doing design, your workload is allocated to you, right? And so if you have either a supervisor that allocates work or department head that allocates work, again, like I said before, it's important that you build that relationship, because when you have that relationship with them, you then become more comfortable going to ask for work. I, on the other hand, did not have a very great relationship with my engineering department head. And so I literally felt sick all the time when I had to go and ask him for the fear of being rejected, and which I got quite often. But what was my saving grace was the fact that when one of the engineers left, I took over all her existing projects. And so that kept me busy. And being that I was an intern before, people in the office knew who I was. So I was able to help them on their projects. It was later down the line when I kind of had to go to HR and talk about my career progress and how where I wanted to go, and that was then shared with my boss. Then I started to see a little bit of changes, but I literally had to speak up for myself. And that's another thing that we have to make sure we start doing, not for fear of retaliation, because if your boss retaliates, then that's not a space that you need to be in. So especially when you're asking for what you're worth, and you're asking to be given opportunity to grow in your professional career. So I would say own the space, be comfortable. I had to learn as I progressed in my career. I've been in the industry about 20 years now. So I've learned to, take it as it come. No doesn't deter me. I just smile and,
Oh,
walk away.
oh.
But when I'm in the field, it's a totally different personality, because I'm talking about money here and I'm talking about keeping the contractor on track. So it's really like a stern personality, because then I'm the boss in the field.
I think I have a friend who just helped me out on Patreon, Trish. For real, she's a project manager, and she said it like this. She's like, "I'm not your friend. I'm the project's friend.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm here to get the project done. No
Correct.
hard feelings. Anything that is said here is meant to complete the task at hand for the client. So you have to be very assertive, yet
Correct.
The word is, I would call it balanced. You have to have a give and
Yeah.
take. You can't be all the way assertive all the time. I'm really kind of passive, but then when I'm assertive, people understand that I'm not playing with you. So I don't lead with assertiveness, but people have different leadership styles. So when you're in the field
Correct.
and you're in control of the project, what would you say your leadership style is like?
I it's a combination of being assertive and being I won't say for lack of better term, transformational.
Mm,
Because one of the things that you have to realize is that they can mess up your project. Contractors can mess up your project and delay your project if you are AH to them, an
mm-hmm,
asshole.
mm-hmm.
So it's important that you recognize when you have to be assertive and when you have to cajole them to get what you want. So
That's
if
good.
they're trying to, if the schedule said they were supposed to have this material on site and they didn't, and then they trying to come back and say, oh yeah, we want to do a change order, that's not happening.
Yeah.
So
So
you
you have
kind
to
of
put
have
the
to
foot down
play.
if they're trying you, 100%. And you're gonna have to
Yeah,
like,
so
yeah, deal with the consequence. And I think again, trying to be liked can get people in problems. But you got to realize
correct.
again, when you're at work, you're at work. When you're at home, you're at home. So when you're at work, and especially if this is your project and your baby, and they're gonna come back to you and say, "Why wasn't the deadline met? How come these people are over budget?" Whatever the case is may be, you have to take ownership of that. And as a woman, you have to be
That's correct.
bold, even though it can get uncomfortable if people try to, the Jamaicans would say, cow you down and try to make you seem like, I mean, I've been in meetings early on in my career where people, older white attorneys on the opposing side, were acting as if I asked a question, they didn't understand what the question meant. And I was like, Lord Jesus, give me patience right now. Don't let me go off on this man right here because you
That's
know
what I
darn
had to
well.
learn. Patience.
Yeah, don't
Patience.
react in emotion and don't react in that
Hmm.
moment. And I always just rephrase. At the moment, it would annoy me, and but I was like, oh, he trying to find a little spot, and I'd be like,
Hmm.
okay, let me see if I can rephrase it for you. So blah 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 blah. And if I say, okay, I'll try a third time. Let me give you another version of what I need from you. Blah 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 blah. So it'll put it in a way like you need to get yourself together, sir. You understand English? Let's go. But I don't say it like that. I just say, okay, no, let me try a third time. Let's go back to where I just said blah 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 blah. And that way the judge will get the drift, opposing counsel get the drift, but nobody gets a nut if you buck response. But he knows,
Yeah.
you're losing your credibility with your client, you're losing your credibility with the court. But there are ways in which you're gonna have to have those tools because people will try
Yes.
you, and that's just the nature of business in America has gotten that kind of like cold, certain industries cutthroat, and people feel like they can say whatever to you, and you got to check them because sometimes they're even testing
Oh
how
yeah.
far can I go as a woman before she says something to me, and if she's going to tolerate this type of disrespect. And you got to be very strategic about that. And again, it doesn't have to be nasty, it doesn't have to be aggressive. It has to definitely do contain the assertiveness that brings back, if I'm leading something, this is what I need from you. Here's your deadline, and let me know if you need anything else. Cut it short. And then if you don't get it to me, then we'll see what your problem is. So you got to be very strategic and what you're saying and when to put it in writing. Put it down, put that thing in an email. Just put the person's name, Tinu, comma. I spoken to you about this already. This is my third request or whatever you got to do. But it's just a part of the office politics, and you got to be able to navigate it because there are people that are not going to be used to you, and you're going to have to be okay with. Oh, that's the other thing. HR is your friend. Sometimes, and I always feel like this. It depends on if you're in top leadership, they don't expect you to go to HR. Every case is different, guys. Every circumstance is different. But if
Hmm.
someone is really bothering you or seemingly to, disrespecting you or something, you got to be strategic. Maybe talk to your mentor, talk to your sponsor. But whether you need to make it a formal complaint if someone is really targeting you. Very rarely does it get to that in these places. Sometimes people try you, but back off. They have their moments. They show they behind. But you don't want to, create hostility. But if someone is being hostile, I'm talking about hostile towards you, you have to stand up for yourself, and you might have to make a complaint and then ultimately leave if that's a place that's not allowing you to be your
And I
best.
would say, if I may add to what you just shared, I actually have a different notion about HR.
Tell me.
Don't go to HR unless you're going for training. You need training information or whatnot. When it comes to HR, you have to keep in mind that HR is there to protect the company,
Oh,
not
huh, okay.
necessarily employees.
100%. I agree with
So
that.
when
So
you're going, if you talk to your mentor about a situation where you think your work environment is hostile, I won't necessarily go to my HR with that. I will talk to either an employment lawyer or EEO, equal opportunity office, to get advice as to how to navigate the space. Because once you go to HR, and if it's about your boss or someone that is likable in the office that you're reporting, then the time is against you, because then they start to build a case against you. And I'm talking from
or they want
experience.
to fire you.
Um,
100%. 100%.
Correct.
100%.
So you want to make sure you know what you're going to HR for. If they will think, okay, if somebody's retaliating against her, or most likely she might want to sue the company. So guess what? They're going to do everything they can do to discredit you, your work, and who you are. So you want to be cognizant of what you're trying to report to HR before you make that move.
You make a
That's
very
what I
good
advise
point.
my mentees.
I will also add and qualify what I said. Thank you for bringing up that. And that is super true. And I agree with everything you just said. If you're working, for example, in a governmental or a public office, there may be some advantages to making a record. But I do agree with you. Oftentimes, especially on the private side and private companies, HR is there to only protect the company. I agree with you on that. On paper, it is to protect the employee, but in retrospect,
But in reality,
it's
yeah.
not. And I agree with that because I have friend girls who got toasted. Went into HR. I'm like, HR is not your friend, ma'am. And I agree with you on that. So maybe definitely let me qualify what I said with what Tinu has just added. Each circumstance is different. I think whether
It's
you're in public
different.
and the
Yeah.
private sector is different. Whether you're working for like a government agency or something versus, but they still will have what should I say, an incentive to block you, create a stigma around you, or even try to, dismantle your reputation so that
Correct.
they can protect themselves. So
Correct.
very complex. Definitely don't want to use it as a blanket go. And I agree with you, Tanu. It can actually backfire if it's depending on the circumstance. So
Yes.
yeah, but if there is a smaller, that can go into a rabbit hole. So definitely move with caution on that. Both sides are very true. Miss
Yeah.
AKA Lady says we need these type of public representations. A lot of kids don't consider certain fields because they don't have a realistic access, to those spaces, but they do. Hey, that is very good. Scam likely talking about, yay, another woman with glow in the dark teeth. He always says my guests have very white teeth. You're so funny. Your platform is undefeated. Yes, Scam likely the resident dentist says RM. Love it.
Thank you.
Yeah, exactly. From my Patreon, she was like, "I'm the project's friend. I'm not your friend." Is I think how she put
That's
it.
right.
And she's like, "Love it or leave it." And there are people that again will challenge you just to test the waters and see if you're going to react emotionally, or if you're going to pop off, or if you're going to be their stereotype. So you have to be very careful in playing into the hands of folks who are trying to get you to overreact. You got to be very careful and just like what she said, patiently respond. We even got that in our Patreon. Trish for real talked about that. Pause before you respond. Go to lunch. Think about it. Call your home girl. Do not write the email with the emotional mindset, right? Because it can backfire
Correct.
on you. Guys, we have a
It
time for a
certainly
few more questions, some good conversation. We could definitely go on and on. I want you to leave us with a few main takeaways to new when it comes to entering and being successful in a STEAM career. How to excel. We talked about mentorship. We talked about sponsorship. We talked about just being good at your job and taking
Mhm.
yourself, and your job very seriously. Not too serious, like yourself too seriously, but your job very seriously, and making sure you are, I guess, on the front end taking the type of classes, that math classes, etc., to help prepare you if you're serious about trying to explore this type of career. So, final
Sure.
advice, final questions, y'all. I hope you're enjoying the chat. I definitely love what I'm seeing here. But just get us ready for STEM or STEAM to have us excel in STEM or STEAM. Or if you want to give any other personal stories about your successes or struggle or triumph, the floor is yours, my dear. We have a few minutes left, and I want people to get a good idea of what
Sure.
it's like for Black
So
women
I'm
in the
gonna plug
field.
my book.
Oh,
I
okay,
have I
yes.
have her right here. It's called Engineher, and is a compilation of 4 books about 4 Black women and their journey in becoming engineers in their different fields.
Hold it up, so people
The
can see it.
You can find it on Amazon right now. We're gonna try and get it into Walmart and Barnes and Noble. So you can
Wonderful.
find it on
Engine
Amazon
her.
right now.
Fantastic.
Excuse me?
Engine her.
Engineher. So it's a play on engineer.
I
So
love it.
the
I love
lipstick,
it.
we want to denote our femininity. So
Yes, I
that's
love it.
why the H is red and you have the lipstick on the face of this beautiful Black woman. So the book again has a lot of advice in it for young girls, young ladies that are navigating the terrain in the field or in any professional setting. But what I would say is, depending on what level of success you're looking for yourself, if you're overachiever, you want to be able to present research papers, articles, journals. You can do that to substantiate your expertise. If you want to be able to be known in your profession, you can be part of the professional organization and be in leadership and go to conferences and present at conferences. So these are I won't say risks, but they are good risks to take to promote yourself, your brand, and to also build your career. I'm getting back into this, COVID hit a lot of us, so I've been out of the mix. So I'm now researching opportunities, and that's why the book was written, also to share in that information. I'm researching opportunities on how to do present at conferences and write short journals or articles about particular concepts to help young women in my profession, and but most particularly young women that look like me, to know that there's a space that they can enter and feel comfortable entering it.
I love the book. Sorry, I couldn't unmute myself. I was seeing a couple more questions are in the chat, but y'all go find Engine Her. Where can we buy the book again? They're asking.
It's on Amazon.
Awesome. Amazon Engine Her. I'm going to make her bigger. We have one more question. Lil Ernest is asking, do engineering jobs set their employees up for retirement and 401k?
Yes, they do. Like any other profession, you have to pay into it. Some companies match it. I don't know if companies don't, but most companies do match. So that opportunity is available to you. Oh, one other thing that I meant to talk about, as far as the success you're looking for in the engineering field.
Mm-hmm.
In engineering, we have something that we call licensing. So if you want to practice and be able to sign off on engineering drawings so that you can design a road, a drainage system, a building, you have to have your engineering license. And so there are board exams you have to take for it. Not everyone takes it, but most people that are a structural engineer, that are into civil transportation and all the various discipline under civil, they tend to take the license. If you don't want to have the license, you just have to work with an engineer that has the license so that your designs can be signed off on,
Oh,
and
wow. I
the
didn't know they had
professional engineer will review it. Yes.
special licensures for engineering. That's really great.
Yeah.
If we can find the book link, I didn't put it in the I need your Amazon link. I'm gonna put it in the description, you guys. Thank you.
Okay.
Everybody's excited about the book. Cheers to the book, they're saying. Tinu, it's been a pleasure, and I hope we inspire someone or someone in the next generation to get their foot in the door. STEAM careers are where it's at. We need more Black people as a whole, men and women, but we also need more Black women, Black girls, to kind of look at this as a viable option for where they can earn a living and have an impact on the community, have an impact on their individual household, their family, right? The kids they're going to have. And hopefully you guys will look more into what's going on in STEAM. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and allow her to go. Y'all, she got a family and stuff she got to take care of. Appreciate you. Miss Ake, if you
Thank
enjoyed,
you.
give us a thumbs up. Check her out. The book is called Engineher. Look for the black cover, red lips, she said, and support. Again, get the word out. Oh, do you want to mention anything about Banwo Foundation before we jump off?
Sure. Sure, definitely. Banwell Foundation is a nonprofit that I started, and my goal is to empower women between the ages of 18 through 24 with life skills to help them when it comes to wealth development, entrepreneurship, advocacy, and health and wellness. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and the website is Banwo, BANWO Foundation.org. And you can find the book again on Amazon. I'll share the link. And you can find me on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and TikTok at Tinu Pena, or I am Tinu. But if you search Tinu Pena, you'll find me.
Talking to myself there. Sorry. Round of applause is what I was giving you. I appreciate you making the time for us here on the SuzetteSpeaks show. You are fantastic. I'm so proud of you and all your wonderful.
It's always a pleasure.
I want you to keep it up, and thank you for spending time and inspiring us and teaching us more about what it's like to be a Black woman in STEAM. So we'll connect again real soon. Congrats on the book, y'all. Go check it out. Engineher, and I'll see you real soon. Thank you, Tinu.
Thank you.
A pleasure
Bye,
having
everyone.
you on. Of course. Thank you, Tinu Pena, y'all. Go ahead and follow her on Instagram, as she said. Go ahead and also look at her brand new book, Engineher. So if you want to surprise a young person, especially a young lady, we're trying to especially encourage our young girls to come through in this type of industry, the STEAM engineering, the science, technology, engineering, architecture, or math driven types of careers. I want to encourage everybody to look into them, tell young people about them over and over and over again. I would love to also just remind you about my show tomorrow. I will be having Miss Jonice Gaffney come through. She's going to be talking about, and if I can find the slide, she's going to be talking about her program for getting back in shape or staying in shape, depending on where you are, for working people. It's online based training. We're going to talk about the 10 mistakes people make for fat loss or for weight loss. I know I made a few. Hey, somebody be okay with that. But we got work to do. If you're not a member of my Patreon, please. Oh, sorry. Please. I was trying to look for the slide that I was going to tell you about the show tomorrow. But if you're not a member of my Patreon, we just did a fantastic members only. Here we go with Trish For Real. Shout out again to Trish For Real for coming through Saturday, blessing us with a wonderful fireside chat called Giving Grace a Lifestyle, where she's a project manager, Trisha is, and talked about her ups and downs in helping to balance when you get on work sites and what it's like and what to do in those situations. And we also took it to the personal side of what to do in those situations. And like I said, we have a couple of great shows coming up. Frida's World, another wonderful content creator. There we go. Janice is tomorrow, 7 p.m. Make sure the stream is already up. Make sure you go ahead and hit the reminder button. Tomorrow we'll see you just after 7 Eastern. I think Janice will be a fantastic show, especially for those of us who want to watch The Waistline. So I appreciate you guys watching tonight. Thanks for showing love. Everyone who wants to see someone enter, oh my goodness, STEM. I gotta find my mouse, guys. I don't know where I put my mouse, so I'm using my touch screen, and it's like wanting me not to be great. Shout out to Reese. I see you, Reese. Thank you, RM, for being a fantastic moderator here tonight. Thank you, Damon, for showing love. Thank you, Miss AKA Liddy. Everybody who's watching and Team Replay, you know what to do. I'll see y'all tomorrow. Have a great night and hit the like button on your way out. Have a great night, guys.